Welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church. Whether today is your first time here or you've been coming for years, we're so glad that you're with us. My name is Erica Bartlett. My pronouns are she and hers, and I'm the chair of the worship committee. We're growing a community that transforms lives through the power of love. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for the earth. A special welcome to those at home who are joining us on Zoom today. If you're attending for the first time, please fill out the welcome card on our website so we can get to know more about you. This morning's service, titled Thinking About Groups, is led by the Allen Avenue Worship Committee. Lay-led worship is a long-standing tradition at this and many other Unitarian Universalist churches. Here at Allen Avenue, the worship committee sponsors or presents one such service a month, and on most other Sundays, services are led by our minister, the Reverend Tara Humphreys. Now I'd like to invite you all to take this opportunity to silence your cell phones or any other noisy devices so that we can be fully present to one another. And after the service, please grab a cup of coffee or tea and stay for conversation, or head down to the end of the long hallway to join a group for the brown bag brunch. Those on Zoom may stay on and connect with each other. And now, let us center our hearts and minds with the sound of the Sacred.
Good morning. I'm Leslie McConnell. I'm a member of the worship committee. This call to worship is a poem called Clothesline by Marilyn Maciel. I, you, us, them, those people. Wouldn't it be lovely if one could live in a constant state of we? Some of the most commonplace words can be some of the biggest dividers. They, what if there were no they? What if there was only us? If words could be seen as they floated out of our mouths, would we feel no shame as they passed beyond our lips? If we were to string our words on a communal clothesline, would we feel proud as our thoughts flapped in the breeze? As we light the flame of the chalice, we invite those on Zoom to light their own chalices or candles so that we may be connected with one another. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. Please join us for our first hymn, number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. We will be singing it through twice. Please rise as you are able.
Ours is the Can you hear me? Oh, good. Hi, everybody. My name is Anna Noyes-Benoit, and I am going to do a time for all ages this morning, which is called Conflicted Sisters. And I wonder what that brings to mind. Well, today we're talking about groups and how sometimes those groups conflict with one another and are very different. So I'd like to share this following story. When you see the campaign signs along the road, or yesterday at the protest, we realize that people have strong views and ideas that are different or conflicted with one another. And sometimes it's difficult to easily become friends with someone who looks very different from us or whose family we don't know. My two granddaughters have a very conflicted relationship and have for a long time. But surprisingly, it's been a lot of fun. Ever since they started school, they've played team sports, and now their favorite sport is soccer. When they've played together on the same team, they've worked well. One sister would pass the ball up to the other sister so she could score a goal. And they've always been good friends with all the other members of the team. There's an expression, there's no I in the word team, which when you think about it, team is spelled T-E-A-M, and there's no letter I in it. But what it means is that the individual I is less important than the group, and that you work all together on a common goal. After my daughters played a team from another nearby school, they would quickly speak with their friends that they knew from the other team and compliment one another on their good work and fierce play. Number 17 is Rita. They cheer for each other's successes and they cope with their losses as a team. Sounds like fun, right? Now they're both playing for their collegiate soccer teams, and one is at the University of Maine in Farmington, and one is at the University of Southern Maine. Well, last Thursday, these two teams played each other. What were we going to do? We were very conflicted in the stands. My daughter and I decided to sit exactly in the middle of the field. Should I cheer for Rita's team, who were really the underdogs, or should I cheer for Marie's team? Or is it possible to just cheer for both of them at the same time? So we ended up cheering for every save and every great goal, and instead of a win-loss, we felt it was a win-win. After the game, the girls exchanged T-shirts. Then there is a picture of it somewhere up there. And during the game, Marie actually scored on Rita's team, and Rita ran up to her and high-fived her. Afterwards, they were laughing, they were happy, and we all went out to lunch. There they are.
Also a win-win, RE today. So in a few moments, some of us will leave the sanctuary to go to RE, but first I invite our lamplighter, Calvin, to join me in the pulpit. A lamplighter is entrusted to transfer the light of the sanctuary chalice to the lamp and then go forth to RE spaces where he will light the lamp there. I invite those going to religious education or RE to follow the lamplighter as we carry the flame, expanding our sacred space.
We all belong to groups of one kind or another. Some we choose, like coming to this church. Some we're born into, like our families. Sometimes you might even have groups within groups or circles within circles, like being a member of a committee here, or 2 or 3. Most of these groups are ones we enjoy, or we wouldn't stay in them. We like the feeling of belonging. But we also have a lot of groups that we don't belong to. Again, this may be by choice, but sometimes we're not admitted to other groups and we're kept on the outside. Or we may feel so strongly about our group versus another group that we define strong boundaries, clarify that we're us and they're them. In those situations, it can be hard to know how to be around people from the other group. And it may feel like we're so far apart, we can't talk to them or bridge that divide. Or we may not even want to try, feeling like there's no way we can have anything in common. In these times when what group you belong to seems to matter more than ever, the worship committee thought it was worth thinking about groups and sharing those thoughts with you.
Good morning. My name is Mike Luce. I'm a member of the worship committee. My piece is titled Circles I've Run In. There's a lot of them. I have some very old friends from back in the day, as they say, 50 years ago or more. Call them my first circle of adulthood. How this small circle of old friends views me is still an important part of who I consider myself to be. We've been sometimes separated by time, geography, circumstance, but the threads, they're still woven into my being. Now today, of course, there's this church. I've been here long enough to consider myself woven into its fabric and vice versa. I spend a lot of time here, one way or another, and even though I'm not the most automatically social of characters, I've come to know a few folks in various settings, and there are circles within circles, just like the spiritual tells us. I've been in the choir since almost day one. That's one tight circle who work together in literal, if not perfect, harmony every week. I've been on different committees and task groups, each its own circle. All of these circles gear up together to make this church a working machine that is Allen Avenue. It makes your head spin. There have been other circles over the years. I was a musician in my younger years, and I took that very seriously. I invested thousands of hours in my craft and held a lot of respect for those around me who had done the same. Sometimes I identified and respected maybe a little too much. I could gloss over some kind of glaring character defects if they could really play. I hung out with quite a mix of musicians almost exclusively for a while until I got over the idea of being a working musician as a living for me. But they were my circle. In the years since, I've thought about the judgments I made and didn't make at that time with a little bit of chagrin. Later on, I found my calling, my circle of choice, I guess you'd call it, working in community mental health, especially with the most needful folks, was my circle. There I found folks whom I harmonized with, not all of them, but enough. That circle made probably the deepest impressions in me, both because of the length of time and the emotional demands. The circle extends to people here who've done similar jobs. We know a little about each other, maybe even before we've had a chance to talk. There have been a bunch of other circles and eddies along the way, of course, my current family being a huge one. Some just spun me a little. Some spat me out. One was soul-deadening for all of 3 weeks. I spat myself out of that. Each one of them, though, connected in some apparent or not so apparent way and affected the whole 3D Venn diagram that is my life. Like I observed about the circles which make up this church, it all makes my head spin. If I think about it too much, I just need to lie down. Even in those tiny old circles, so long since dormant, they've left their mark, maybe just on some quantum level. Anytime I begin to feel like I've got things kind of figured out, understood, sure of what and why I'm doing, I just need to ponder on all those little circles under the surface, still having their effect. Then, like I said, I need to go down, lie down, and rethink things.
I very recently went to a good friend's memorial service. She was a devout Christian, so I wasn't surprised or even bothered that about 75% of the ceremony was Bible and Jesus-based and not really specifically about my friend. That was the type of service she would have wanted because of how she lived her life. It's not what I would choose for myself, but I knew that the words and songs chosen comforted my friend's family. And I am positive that she and I shared many of the same values. We could love each other as friends while knowing we had a difference in theology. I first started coming to this church over 30 years ago. I had never even heard about Unitarian Universalism, but my husband, Ted, was raised as a UU, so I was willing to give it a try. After my first visit, I knew I had found my place. I was especially impressed at the time by the 7 principles. After a while, though, I began to think more deeply about them. And it was the very first principle that I began to question. It said that UUs believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. In 2024, UUs voted to change the 7 principles in our bylaws to shared values, all based in love. The value that most closely aligns with the first principle is the value of equity. It reads, "We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion." And I wholeheartedly agree with most of the statement. We had 2 sets of neighbors move into our neighborhood about 2 years ago, almost at the same time. One is a gay couple who I will call Mitch and Jim. They are very interesting people, and we have become very good friends. The other couple, up the hill, goes to a small conservative church in a nearby town. When Jim and Mitch went over to introduce themselves, they attempted to shake hands. The woman told them, "We can't shake hands with you. We have grandchildren." So, what about them? Do they deserve my love and compassion when I know they use such hateful speech? How are they able to flourish with dignity? And now it's 2025. Just watch the news or read the headlines. What about all of them? It's a big question, and I don't really have an easy answer or even think there is one. But I do know I truly must be a real UU because now I'm questioning the language that the entire UUA assembly voted to adopt. This is from the UUA.org. We arrived at the description of Unitarian Universalism after a multi-year process of discernment and discussion, writing and revision, and eventually a final democratic vote. I think the best thing for me to do is to shift gears and start focusing positively on us and not them for right now. Coming here each week, I know I am with a group of people who cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. What about us? Hopefully, being in this community of people who share many of the same beliefs and values gives us all strength. And maybe that strength will allow us to someday bridge the giant gap that keeps us divided. The strength will let us continue to keep asking the important questions and live our lives with love.
Now is the time in our service when we engage in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts support the ministries of this congregation and our work in the broader community. Each week, 1/3 of our offering is given away to a local nonprofit organization doing work to advance our shared values in the world. This month's Share the Plate recipient is MUSAN, the Maine Unitarian Universalist State Advocacy Network, which is a statewide advocacy and public policy network anchored in UU faith and families experiencing, copy-paste error. Public policy network anchored in UU faith. Donations can be made now as the basket is passed through the donate button on our website, or if you're a member on Breeze, remembering to make note that your gift is for Share the Plate. If you're visiting for the first time this morning, please know that your presence is your gift to us. At this time, our offering will be collected and gratefully received. My name is still Erica Bartlett, and I'm a longtime sci-fi fan. I've been reading and watching a lot of sci-fi recently, and it turns out that encounters with alien species provide a good perspective when thinking about who your people are, what groups you belong to, who's us and who's them, or even if there is an us or them. One example is the movie Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. It was released in 1991, which is somehow 34 years ago. So hopefully I don't need to worry about spoiling things for anyone. And I don't think it was a coincidence that 1991 was also the end of the Cold War. I say that because in early Star Trek, some of what happened mirrored the Cold War, with the Klingons as the antagonist, the analog of the Soviets, while the Federation represented the United States. In the movie, Captain James Kirk expressed how much he hated Klingons, especially since a Klingon had killed his son. So Kirk was less than pleased when Spock, his friend and first officer, volunteered their ship to bring a Klingon ambassador to discuss the possibility of a peace treaty with the Federation. Kirk had no interest in peace with the Klingons. As he even admitted, he was used to hating them. When I recently rewatched the movie, it reminded me of growing up in the 1980s under the shadow of the Cold War. I don't remember hating those who lived in the Soviet Union, but I do think I considered them the enemy, and I felt like the Soviets were somehow different from me. If they weren't, why would they want to go to war with us? I wasn't the only young girl in Maine thinking about this. In 1982, a 10-year-old from Holton, Maine, named Samantha Smith, got national attention when she wrote a letter to the new Soviet leader, Yuri Andropov. She was a little older than me, but not by much, and her age didn't keep her from asking tough questions of Andropov. Are you going to vote to have a war or not? I would like to know why you want to conquer the world, or at least our country. To his credit, Andropov wrote back and said he did not want a war, and that he was doing what he could to prevent it. He even invited Samantha to visit the Soviet Union, which she did, and she became a very young peace activist. Sadly, Samantha didn't live to see an end to the Cold War since she died in a plane crash in 1985. But only a few years later, the Samantha Smith World Peace Camp opened in Poland, Maine. It invited young people from the US and Soviet Union, as well as other countries, to come and get to know each other. My brother attended that camp for a couple of years, and I think it was in 1989 that a friend of his from camp, Alexei, came to stay with my family for a few days. Alexei was surprised by the abundance of food and goods in America, but he was very polite. He brought gifts for us. I got a Matryoshka doll. He talked about his family. He was amused by our pets, and in general, he seemed much like any other teenage boy. That was the first time I realized Soviets might not be so different after all, at least not as much as I thought. It made me think that even though countries might do things differently, we could still find commonalities. After all, even though Alexei was from a long way away, he still wanted to have fun, experience new things, and try all our foods that were so new to him. This brings me back to the Star Trek movie. Kirk eventually realized that he needed to let go of his hatred and support the possibility of peace between the Federation and Klingons. Towards the end of the movie, when he and Spock were talking about what had happened, Kirk started to say something about human beings. Spock pointed out that he wasn't human. For those who don't know, Spock was only half human and half Vulcan. Kirk replied, "Spock, you want to know something? Everybody's human." To which Spock replied, "I find that remark insulting." It was played for laughs, which it got, but I also understood Kirk's point, that for all our cultural differences, whatever group we belong to, at the core, we're all the same. We all have the same basic needs of food, water, shelter. We all want some form of connection and understanding and acceptance. Jane Goodall shared a similar perspective in a 2020 interview. After World War II, her mother had sent Jane to Germany with her uncle to tutor some German children in English. Jane had hated the Germans during the war, but said that her mother, quote, "let me go because afterwards she told me, just because of Hitler and the Nazis doesn't mean Germans are bad people. She wanted me to see for myself that we are, beyond all else, human beings, and circumstances and culture and nationality change the way we behave, but inside it all, we're human," end quote. It was a good lesson for Jane, and it's a good reminder for me. This doesn't mean that we can get along with everyone. We'll always have people we disagree with and aren't friends with, but it helps to remember that people are individuals. Even if someone belongs to a country or group we don't like, it's still possible that we could have more in common with them than at least some of us think. That feels important to remember now, more than ever, as well as the fact that no matter what else, we're all human.
ground. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around. Oh, so is life a body wow. Ah, so is life. Whoa, so is life a body wow. Ah, so is life. Whoa, so is life a body wow. Ah, so is life. Whoa, so is life a body wow. Ah, so is life.
Ha! Don't tell Dale, but I missed one of those while the choir was singing. But better late than never. I'm Rick Kimball, and I'm a member of the worship committee. That's one of my silos, or groups, or ersatz families, or whatever you want to call them. Just be careful what you decide. As a sometimes writer and editor, I have learned to respect the power of words. Some of them help, and some of them hurt. So it is with words of grouping, like clans and religions and nations and teams and political parties and isn't it great to find so many variants in so many online thesauri? Perhaps they are so numerous because people have trouble deciding which works best. Some, you see, seem confining and others combative. This worries the Unitarian Universalist Association, which has decided that silos are bad. They say that silos within our congregations separate people who need to be joined for effective mutual support and effective action. So what should we call our groups? Well, the word I like best I have not yet mentioned. It's bubbles. I try to see myself not in silos or tribes, but in bubbles. My family bubble, my church bubble, my political bubble, my retirement community bubble, and more. Maybe A2U2 should add bubbling to its goals, because bubbling is great for people in churches and all sorts of other groups. Just saying bubbling is sort of fun. Bubbles are transparent. They let you see outside to view the other. Compare them to silos, which are high, deep, windowless, and tough to reach out from. The transparency of bubbles allows you not just to see, but to assess the value of the options outside your own bubble. They cannot blind us to the possible value of people and philosophies outside our immediate group. Some would disagree with me, imagine that. One is the writer T.J. Klune, who has written that we get trapped in our own little bubbles, and even though the world is a wide and mysterious place, our bubbles keep us safe from that, to our detriment. But that need not be, I say, because bubbles are fragile. They lack the solid walls of silos and the possible refraining tactics of others in our groups when we attempt to move beyond them. Touch a bubble and it bursts. It lets you out and it lets others in. And it may make a gentle popping sound as it breaks. Pop, pop, pop. You know, some guns make popping sounds when they go off. Well, let's replace the popping sound of guns with the more gentle popping sound of bubbles as people move beyond themselves and beyond their groups to others. Shakespeare comes to mind as I muse about all this. What's in a name, he asks. Plenty, I respond. What we call our group identities can control how we affect them and how they affect us and others around us. So let's climb out of any boxes or clans or silos that contain and constrain us. Let's see and name and treat those groups as bubbles for the sake of ourselves, for the sake of our church, for the sake of our world. Our closing hymn this morning is "This Is My Song," number 159 in the Gray Book and on the screen. Dale will play it through once, and as he does, we will rise and be ready to sing. After our benediction and extinguishing the chalice, you are invited to remain seated in silence for a time of integration and reflection while Dale offers the postlude. Our closing words are by Eileen Karpelis. As we part now one from another, let these be our thoughts. If that which is most holy lies within the human person, and if the greatest power in the world shines flickering and uncertain from each individual heart, then it is easy to see the value of human associations dedicated to nurturing that light, the couple, the family, the religious community. For the power of good in any one of us must at times waver, but when a group together is dedicated to nurturing the power of good, it is rare for the light to grow dim in all individuals at the same moment. So we borrow courage and wisdom from one another to warm us and keep us until we're together again. Our worship is ended and our service begins.